Okay, hi, I'm John from Broadsheet.ie. You're watching Tomorrow Tonight. We're very honoured to be joined by Heber Rowan, who's a public affairs consultant in Dublin and Brussels, but joins us from Sligo. He's also a Broadsheet columnist. Good evening, Heber.
Thank you. Hi.
Pronounced like Bieber, Justin?
More or less, yes.
Okay. And
so I
named
guess to meet
after...
another person with the same name.
There is another Heber in Ireland, a photographer.
There's about 5 or 6, as I found out, but I've yet to meet them.
Okay, and it's Heber Finn, the High King of Ireland at 1700
yes,
BC.
From the time of the Tuatha De Danann.
Yes.
From about 2800 BC. And there was famously a Bishop Heber McMahon who, from the generations gone by, not alone, and there have been a few people, but if you do a general search for other Hebers in the world, you'd find quite a few in Latin America who took it from the Bible.
Okay, is it Ivor in Welsh? No.
No, but a discussion about the etymology of it all I have on my little blog site. And one day I hope to travel around the world and hope to meet the other Hebers, like David Gorman, the English comedian, did about his namesakes.
Yeah.
But when I have enough time and money in my hands, I plan to do that.
Yeah, well,
hopefully make a documentary about the grander conversation about names and identity.
Yeah, exactly. And so your father must really dislike you, or your parents. What's your dad's name?
Well, Henry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's,
well, but his father was named Patrick, but my middle name is Patrick.
Okay.
More normal.
Okay. Were you tempted to go with just Patrick, though?
Well, when I'm in difficulty with a conversation over the phone with some customer service agent, I don't really need to know further. I just might call myself Patrick for the sake of convenience.
Can we start with your local paper then, Sligo Weekender? Sure. Elderly Woman's Terror and Armed Intruder, St. Bridget's Day Tradition. Is this your local paper? Do you get the Sligo Weekender?
It is. I know quite a few involved in Sligo Weekender. The big thing that strikes me is the range of domestic violence and abuse that's happened all throughout the country the last while. Not only in Ireland, but across the world, domestic violence has rocketed from the pandemic. And occasions like this are a sad reflection of how it's gone on. Like a lot of people have been vilified by the woman who went forward under the coercive control case.
Yeah.
The man was done for 10 years, and that's brought a lot of people into the light. And Gardaí say there's about 50 plus cases of a similar nature at the moment being brought before the courts. And it's good. It really is good. It's sad to see these things can happening, but at least it is finally driving a conversation around what is tolerated and what needs to change.
Okay. Heber, just moving on then to the Irish Sun, knifed to death over a bike. This is in East Wall last night in Dublin. Josh Dunn, 16, was killed in Dublin's East Wall at 9:20 p.m. on Tuesday. He was stabbed after he tried to break up a row over a bike, Gardaí believe. He was
very tragic.
Yeah,
very tragic.
Very.
Yeah.
You know, have I lost you, Heber? Have I lost you, Heber? You there?
One thing can unfortunately lead to another, but who really knows these things? And of course, they're still figuring out the. Yeah, I can hear you. All good.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're frozen.
You've frozen too. Okay.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, is that the Sligo?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh.
Frozen again? Have we frozen again?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey.
No, no, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine.
Okay. And into the Irish Examiner, COVID tests for hauliers may hit supplies. French demand for negative tests for truckers may lead to shortages. Um, the AstraZeneca vaccine supply could be halved. Nursing home staff decline test offer. So it's all COVID, and there's a Brexit element to the EU versus UK on the vaccines. Heber, no?
Yeah, I think definitely it's really a case of the pettiness of getting used to the post-Brexit world where AstraZeneca signed the contract for a certain amount of vaccines to be sold by a certain time and given to the EU member states who bought them all in advance in a huge multi-million euro or even multi-billion euro advance purchase agreement. But now they're caught out saying one thing and then turning around saying the other thing a few days later after pressure from all of the EU member states and the Commission demanding that they get their share of the virus vaccine in time. But because a lot of them are manufactured in the UK, it creates a lot of export to work around that. Um, there is so much still to be figured out, and the delays on the truckers, for example, are just another example of how uh, further trade between Ireland and the UK and the rest of Europe, for that matter, will just be continuously delayed, and less products will, for at least the next couple of months until something is figured out and consumers adapt to the new changing circumstances, there will just be further and further delays and more empty shelves
Wasn't
in Marks and Spencers and firms heavily dependent on UK suppliers. Particularly websites still haven't adapted to a lot of this. You might go to a .ie site thinking that it's a domestic Irish site, for example, but then the supplies actually come from the United Kingdom, and these all rely on the trucks coming over, and the trucks who rely on the vaccines now being given to these drivers who are coming over, and some of them, in the case of fast-moving goods for, say, sandwiches or other perishable items, they simply have to throw away what they bring over because the shelf life won't allow them to be sold.
yeah.
It's a massive waste, and it's an awful shame. But I think it will get worse before it gets better.
Okay. Moving on then, a legal bid to reopen schools for pupils with special needs.
Yes, this was one of the things that was brought up in the debate with Norma Foley around reopening the schools versus the unions consistently. That those who were in need of state supports, such as special needs, and finding out those who were in abusive situations at home, that they were completely left in the lurch without some form of schools being open in some shifted pattern or gradated way. And unfortunately, the matter was just forced so that there's absolutely nothing for any students of any kind. So it's kind of the worst of all worlds in some ways, other than the unions of the teachers might be looking for the vaccines to be given to them faster, which is a viable argument in terms of simply allowing the state as a whole to operate a lot further. And there is definitely an argument to be made about it.
Yeah.
Such as even giving the members of the Oireachtas the vaccine as a matter of priority versus, say, spending 25 grand a day for the convention centre.
Well, this is it. Just going on to the echo, zero COVID dismissed. This is the zero COVID strategy, which has been thrown about and suggested for about a year, for about 10 months, actually. Are you a COVID zero man or zero COVID person?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be absolutely unrealistic to have any rational conversation about zero COVID, because even New Zealand there just this week announced their first COVID cases again after their rigid and lauded strategy for a long time. inevitably it will come back. It is an infectious bugger, and it will eventually move to an endemic rather than a pandemic type of illness, comparable to other forms of illnesses that just pop up here and there around the world. And let's
Like
not forget
flu.
the fact that there will always be those who don't want to vaccinate, and that's just part of course.
Yeah. Okay. The great photograph here of Frank, who's reading the Echo on Dawn Square in Cork, surrounded by pigeons, as he keeps them up to date on the latest news. Um, just a bit of light relief, Heber. Onto the
Well,
daily.
at least they're not seagulls.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Poor pigeons. I mean, they got it in the neck from those the psycho gulls. EU demands British vaccines. This is more of the same. Schools remain closed until March under three-step plan. I love how they sort of. I mean, it's clearly that there's not local decisions being made; they're being made internationally. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so
And I think it is the big shift that they have to get used to as a nation state, that things do move on regional levels internationally now more so than national, and that their overall population in terms of the world and the size of their economy is not actually as big as they thought it was, because their jingoism only gets them so far.
well,
And
okay,
but that said, they are still a member of the Security Council.
yeah, okay. Britain and EU in row over who gets Oxford jab first. Uh, Expert in Breed hit out a PM's virus claim, and schools may reopen from early March. So it's entirely COVID. UK supply vaccine more than is needed. So it's kind of contradictory statements. This is Kirsten Stewart as Princess Diana. Uh, Biden gets to work on climate crisis. Hand over your vaccine. Brussels tells Britain. And
The debate, the fight continues. The fight continues. Who
yeah.
paid for it? Get it?
So this is basically the Brexit row in another form and mutating into whatever problems they can cause.
It's a personification of everything that they've lost, seeing that now they hold something valuable and they want to hold it hostage for the purposes of trying to get a last minute deal or change on something, which it won't. I mean, eventually something will be worked out that they just have to, because so much will hinge on it. Even Joe Biden, for example, categorically said that he won't have a trade deal with the United Kingdom until the UK rejoins the EU, which sounds preposterous, but who knows what could happen in the range of the next 5 to 10 years in international relations. The brinksmanship can continue.
Right. I don't think another Brexit vote is going to be the answer, to be perfectly honest. But
yeah, but I'd see United Ireland before I would see that, probably.
New Statesman, special issue on our moment of national mourning of the lost. Vaccine wars in the Spectator. There's Boris with a huge hypodermic needle, Merkel and EU, everybody protecting their vaccines or whatever. Now, I wanted to ask before you go, Heber, about GameStop. Will you explain to our audience what GameStop is all about?
Well, as we can see there from the graphic of the Financial Times, it's all about toss a coin to your Reddit user. That there's a screen grab from the video game of The Witcher, the fantasy series. What's happening is essentially a great bubble that has gone on through basically unprecedented levels. About 6 months, it was 2019, a Reddit user by the name of Deep Effin Value, he put 40 grand into GameStop after seeing the price was about $3.50, that it was being shorted by all the different institutional investors, basically betting against the value of the stock, that would just go down, down, down until the whole thing would go out of business. And this is before the pandemic and the rest, but just on the basis of increased digital sales of games online, downloading things. But at the same time, this guy looked at it and said, well, maybe no, because the PlayStation 5 is coming out and they're still going to have a disc slot, and the consoles will still be a market for bricks and mortar operations. And then a new board came into the company, and there was other good news that they would rework themselves and have some kind of positive vibes. So they would at least definitely continue for maybe 5+ years, that they wouldn't be totally ousted by new broadband speeds, and gaming would still develop. And then, so of course, pandemic hits and people are gaming more and things spiral into greater demand for games and as a whole, and Reddit users become very, very popular. At the same time, there's a lot of savings within people's pockets who continue to work from home and have not spent their money traditionally in pubs and restaurants, whatever. So they have all this money and they're wondering what to do with it. And they saw that this stock was among the most shorted in the entire world at over 134% at the time. So what that means is that there are more people betting against, or more money betting against, the value of that stock than there is actual stocks available. So for someone to be able to make a profit off a shorted stock, it has to keep going down. But because people on this now very, very famous Reddit group called Wall Street Bets began talk about this, push into long, just put money in, hope it gets higher, and it kept going. All the people who put short positions had to just buy more money and then more money. So then their stock price would just have to go higher and higher and higher. And at the same time, this drove up the further value of all of the other guys who were going long. And it just continues to spiral like flips. And the whole thing basically is a statement about how retail investors, i.e. normal people, who just have money in their pockets, are going forward and actually changing a market. And it's creating this discussion about what is value fundamentally, whether it's the underlying purpose and business of a business, or is it just what people want to do? And this brings up the question as to whether, well, we could all have our little random walk down Wall Street, because it could go up, could go down. It's very different to going to Paddy Power in that, one, you're going to have capital gains tax on anything you take out.
Which
Two,
is about 20%.
33%.
33%, sorry.
33% after an exemption of 127 grand, or 1,270 grand euro, sorry, in terms of exemption for a year. But this entire thing has now gone to the attention of the White House, and all the billionaires are scrambling because they've lost now about $5 billion as it is.
On GameStop.
Yes, on GameStop alone, on this one stock alone. And the guy who invested in 2019 is now, at the time of discussion, worth $23 million.
From
$23 million.
From 44,000.
40,000.
Good Lord,
yes.
Amazing.
I'm serious. And he is known as the man of balls of steel, or diamond man, who have continued. And everyone now is holding on, kind of like they've been holding on cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Because until Friday of this week, what happens is the call for the short has to be called in. So that means that all of these institutional investors, the big hedge funds, they have to suddenly pay out all of the original shorts that they made. And suddenly it's an entire collapse, and they're going to try and get bailed out. But this is basically a big emotional reaction as a whole by the market to say, well, you were bailed out after the housing crisis and the rest. How about we stick it to you using the tools you have and redefining things? But I find it absolutely hilarious. And I wish I had at least one, just for the sake of being part of it, but I don't.
No. And is GameStop then outrageously overvalued right today?
Yeah, its market cap is just kind of stratospherically high. And so at the very least, what will happen is their debts as a business will be paid off, and they can reinvest in new models of development and expand, because of the renewed investment, no doubt about it, and they can just expand their available shares to sell in the market. So no matter what, like it's inevitably going to go down in some way after Friday, but all the Reddit users are heavy gainers and internet users who spend a lot of time looking at all these various things. And this says a lot about how the world is right now, in that we're no longer having people of a different generation investing in, like, the institutional investors would be pension funds, big players on an international scale. And now these are millennials who are finally coming into the money.
Yeah.
So this is a big shift on the macro economy, and there's been great talk about whether we would see a crash of the stock market, because suddenly everything's just going to shift as soon as the world opens up.
And it got a bit wobbly today.
We're undergoing a massive stock bubble right now.
Yeah.
So this is the next conversation to have.
Okay. The markets were very wobbly today. Heber, great to have you on board. Thank you very much for doing the papers tonight. And I'll put all your details for your blog and everything onto the post tonight. Okay. Thanks so much. Thanks, Heber, and thank you for joining us. Thanks.